I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. We do have one public comment today. Mr. Zickerfus, come on down.
Good morning.
Good morning. Morning.
Morning, board members and interim superintendent Chapman. This will be brief. First of all, let me express sincere gratitude for your recent steps towards fairness and collaboration. And as you move forward to selecting the next superintendent for Manatee County, I respectfully offer a recommendation that reflects both our community's values and our student demographics. Manatee County ranks in the top 5% nationally in parent choice, a clear sign that families are actively shaping their children's educational paths. With over 20% of our public school students enrolled in charter schools, it's essential that our next superintendent leads with a vision that includes every student in every setting. Among the many qualities you're seeking, vision, ethics, collaboration, strategic planning, there's one more that deserves explicit inclusion to the list. One additional leadership quality. A demonstrated record of supporting parent choice by working collaboratively with charter schools, recognizing their vital role in Manatee County public education, and ensuring equitable opportunities and resources for all students, regardless of their school type. By including this quality in the superintendent profile, the board affirms a simple but powerful principle that leadership builds bridges, not barriers. We can't afford to repeat the mistakes of the past. Mistakes that pitted the district against the parents' right to choose the best educational path for their child. Any superintendent stepping into the role must understand that more than 1 in 5 public school students in Manatee County attend a charter school. That's not a side issue. That's central to the job. Equity can't be an afterthought. It must be part of the foundation from day one. Most importantly, we can rebuild the public trust by showing that this district values every child, regardless of the type of public school they attend. That kind of leadership turns silos into systems and possibility into progress. Thank you again for your service and your continued commitment to all of our children. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that concludes our public comment. So, board, let's jump right into item number 1, new business, which is the discussion and approval of the Florida School Board Association Superintendent Search Timeline and details thereafter. Obviously in front of us from FSBA, Dr. Rice, Ms. Messina, thank you very much. And then obviously for us, Dr. Vogel, you all have been working behind the scenes for the last, 4 or 5 days. So thank you all very much for accommodating our timeline. I know it's quick and that sort of thing, and I know you've been watching from day one. And so really appreciate, on some of this we've already discussed, and you know that, and you've got some tweaks and changes. So really excited to have you guys back and helping us, all three. I mean, Dr. Rice, it's the first time, but appreciate you here. So, Andrew, I'll give it up to you first. I know, Ms. Chapman, you're probably good. Dr. Vogel, you have anything you want to update? Maybe update maybe from the website?
Yes. Yes. Last night at 5 o'clock, the website was alive at 5, as we like to say. Thanks to Laura's work and Jen and Chris over in IT. And we posted the advertisement. And just as you said, we've been working very closely with Laura and FSBA. And I feel like the process that has been put together is going to be a very effective one.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And board, you can see, and so the staff can see, or excuse me, the public can see too. That is the website up there, very similar to last time, where the feedback will be, and meetings are recorded. Meetings will be there for the public to see. Their input will be there as well for them to do their input. So everything on the website is ready to go, ready to rock and roll, and people can apply now. So.
Correct. And we'll continue that process, which was very popular with the community, that as soon as the complete application is received, they're posted on the website for the entire community. And of course, the board would receive them, and then the community for their feedback.
Just
Perfect.
point of order. Do we need to approve this agenda first?
Oh, very true. My apologies. I jumped right through that.
That's all right.
Yeah, let's go back. We can approve the agenda. Usually we don't have that on special meetings, but that's fine. I don't think we do. Oh, there was an amendment. Yeah.
All right.
So there was an amendment to the agenda, which was just adding some of the timelines and the discussions and that sort of thing, all the attachments that we have in front of us. So yes, if we could have a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
So there's a motion and a second. I don't have.
It's on the agenda, so I want to make sure.
I don't have, looks like mine still says request to speak, so we'll just vote manually. Unless you can put it up there, unless it works. So we had a motion and a second, and let's go ahead and vote on the approval of the agenda. And then we can get back to where we were. Sorry about that, y'all.
That's all right.
Being a good wingman over there. That's exactly.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, both y'all.
Yep.
Caught it. So as Dr. Vogel, as you were saying though, community feedback from the website goes to FSBA. FSBA will collaborate and get that back to us. And I know, Andrew, you'll go over that. You guys will go over that here in a second, what that looks like for us. But just like last time, they will gather all, compile the feedback and all the applicants and that sort of thing, and then give it to RIT to then upload. So, awesome. All right, so Andrew, why don't you go ahead and start us off? You, Dr. Rice, go ahead and start us off with, it looks like timelines first.
Actually, if we
Whatever
can
you wanna look at
start,
first.
yeah, let's start on the qualifications, please, because
Okay.
the qualifications, everything feeds into the timeline.
Okay.
So we'll move in a methodical process here.
Okay.
First off, I want to say thank you so much for your confidence as your membership association. You know, we're here to serve you, and we're here to help you have a very transparent and clear superintendent search process. Last time I was here, we had a different team. As you recognize, Dr. Vogel and Mr. Reichert have since retired, and they worked with me for 10 long, hard years and in many, many districts and from one end of the state to the other. But we do have new team members, so I want to make sure you know Dr. Demetrius Rice, who's one of our full-time staff members. He's our Director of Strategic Operations, and he's works closely with me. He's already been through 2 searches with us, as well as Dr. Deborah Pace, who's a retired superintendent from Osceola County, and Mr. Mike Godrow, who is retired from Seminole County. He was the director of schools, secondary, as well as he was a professor out at the University of Central Florida overseeing student interns. So we've got a good team, just a newer team, but I'll be working with them every step of the way. We're going to start with first a little bit of a review for your community. We helped the Manatee School Board less than 2 years ago do some community survey and public input sessions. And your team has been listening to all your previous last 3 meetings, so we've heard everything you had to say, and we know that you want to start with the qualifications. You're comfortable with the feedback because of the length of time that has passed since then, and it hasn't been too long, that we're going to use that still. So if we can start with the qualifications, what I heard discussed during a previous meeting was editing under preferred qualifications, experience in a school district from 10,000 to 20,000 or more students.
Yep.
Also adding Florida-based experience and the salary range of $220,000 to $260,000. So I just want to reconfirm these qualifications, that they exist and they're exactly what you all want agreed to, so that we can move forward and feed those into the ad and other things.
Yeah, board, I will say, we've obviously discussed a lot of this stuff, but I will ask at the end of this, once we go through all of the materials, for a motion and a second to obviously move and actually vote in all the material that we look at today. So
Okay.
just FYI. So if there are any changes, I know we've kind of looked at these. I don't see any changes for the qualifications, but if anybody else does, Ms. Tatum and then Ms. Felton.
So we decided, I don't remember, on 20,000, is that what we,
I think so.
so Dr. Vogel, and anybody really, my concern with that number is that it will limit the pool of people that we're looking at, and that there might be some good, I guess it's just preferred, I mean, it's not. But anyway, what are your thoughts on whether, is that the right number? I mean, if you were
We had
king-
10 last time, right? Like,
Yeah, and
should we
so
go back
I,
to 10?
I guess if someone has a district of 17,000, it could still apply. It's just preferred. It's not. But what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's a good number to put down, and like you said, it's a preferred qualification, and what happens is most of the individuals will contact FSBA, and, they'll point out that it is preferred, and it really, I don't think necessarily it would exclude anybody in particular.
Yeah, I think it's important that we hear you say you're open to some that might be maybe not meeting that expectation. As you mentioned, it is preferred, not required. But you all do have a large-sized district by national standards. And so to manage that does require a certain level of leadership. But knowing that you're open to others is really the important piece, so that when people reach out to us, we can say, you know, you may not be there, but that's okay. Just go ahead, and if you have the other things that they're looking for, they're willing to consider you.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks for that. That's all I have.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, I agree. I agree with you. I mean, if it's 18,000 or 17,000, I mean, I think we are open to it. At least I know I am. Anything else? Ms. Felton, I'm sorry. And then Ms. Spray?
I and think let me try again. In looking over this and thinking about it over the last couple weeks, I really feel like we need to have a required qualification of some experience in a district in some way, because as board members, those of you who've never worked in a school before have learned, as our previous board members have learned, because I've talked to them about it, the functioning of how a district runs is not a business. That we're not producing cogs, we're producing people. And I think that to have that understanding of what a school does, of what a district does, and I'm not saying that they need to have, necessarily have run a district, but that they should at least have experience in it, even if they taught for 5 years. Something having worked with a school, because it is an entirely different animal than any other kind of business out there. And that to me is extremely important, that they understand that. I don't want somebody coming in here and thinking they're going to, suddenly make us into this industry of producing something. If you understand what I'm not very coherent today, apparently, but if you understand where I'm coming from, I feel like that's really important to have an understanding of how schools function.
So you want, under required qualifications,
I mean, I'm not
experience in the school system?
in a school system.
So almost kind of what we have for the preferred, where we say
Yeah.
experience as a teacher, school-based or district level, and you're
Yeah.
not saying they've got to be those.
Yeah,
You're just saying experience in the school system
yeah, in a school
as
system.
required.
Yeah,
So they could have been a teacher, or substitute, or a secretary, or whatever.
yeah, but they
Okay.
at least know how it works.
Okay.
That's important to me.
Try to comment
Yeah.
on that, if I may. Yeah, Heather, I was just writing this down. I agree with you. Let me just start with that. I agree with you. I would just suggest that we move from preferred up to required experience as a school-based or district-level administrator, because anybody who's in a position like that has probably come up through the ranks. So just to
That sounds
keep it
good to
broad,
me.
okay, cool.
But if you keep administrator, you're saying you want at least a principal, assistant principal, or a district level.
Correct.
So that would kick out, let's say, 25-year teacher, that's 20-year teacher that left, went to an industry, ran something, went to I'm just hypothetically saying, charter school, whatever, ran something, and now is going to come back because I guess, never mind, if they went to, if you put required to be an actual administrator, you could potentially lose someone who has great experience in the schools and maybe went out and did something else and came back or is wanting to come back because they were never actually school-based administrators.
Yeah, no, that's fair. You're gonna
Not saying they're out there. I mean, I don't know who's wants to come back.
No, you're right, because it would exclude makes somebody with corporate experience.
Sure. Maybe they were a teacher for 10
Fair
years. They went on to corporate. They grew up the ladder. They know how to run a great industry. Deltas,
Okay, well, how about
a
this?
CFO who was a teacher when he first started.
Corporate.
I don't know.
It's just a corporate.
Or just let's
That's why I was just going to
leave
say
in teacher.
school-based
Yeah.
position, like experience as a school-based position.
Okay, that's fine.
That could have
No,
been
that's-
teacher. That
yeah,
could have been principal. That could have been anything at that point.
Okay.
But at least you know someone of the school system. I don't know. I mean, what do you think?
I
And
think
Dr.
we're-
Vogel, what do
I
you
think
think?
we're talking about two different things here, and I want to
Okay.
be real clear.
Sure.
First, if you do want to move it up, just moving up the one line that says experience as a teacher, school-based, or district-level administrator up to required makes some sense, right? To include both of what you guys are
Okay.
looking for. But the key distinction here is if you're making a requirement, having been in a school, which is what I heard Ms. Felton say, then what you're, districts take one of two paths. One, we definitely want somebody with education background, which is what I'm hearing you say.
That's what I would like.
And another is, no, we're willing to look at industry, military, other backgrounds. So first, I think you need to determine, do you definitely believe you need an educator or, someone who has an education background? And then if so, we can agree on that, maybe moving that level up.
Okay. I mean, so let's dialogue on that first. I know, Ms. Spray, you were up to
Right.
speak. I know you probably may have had something else, but do you have
Well-
something, do you have a comment about that?
Ac-
Where we're at right now with the qualification part?
Right. I don't know if we could actually add in there corporate-based.
So
in
you're
that
saying
line. Right.
for,
I mean, like to Mr. Choate's point, if somebody was a teacher for 10 years, principal for 10 years, and they had an offer at a corporate level somewhere else, ran that corporation for 10, 20 years, and they're ready to come back and do this, I want to be able to consider that person.
They
So
would be
I-
because they had the experience at the school level.
well,
Right, but if
but
they
they would have
did-
had the 10 years successful administrative leadership experience. That would
Correct.
cover what you're describing for corporate. That language was there, which does
Right.
not say education.
Okay.
And it was intentionally not to say education.
Okay.
But if you move that other one up, then that's where the conflict could
That's
come.
right, and that's where the conflicts is. And-
Correct.
And,
So the question is, do you believe that you need to have an educator? And if the board agrees that you need to have an educator, then we can talk about moving that other one up. But it would be someone who maybe, it could be someone from corporate if they were a teacher and then left and did something else still. But it couldn't be
Straight corporate.
required if someone who just came up through the military or just came up through private business, or even, it did not have to be corporate, it could be private business or.
Yeah.
right, right. Okay, so what are you saying that we need to do here? Because the top
Well, we got to
one says-
decide either one.
Right,
of
the
them.
top one says 10-year successful administrator leadership experience. That's a required thing.
Correct.
That's in any business,
Correct,
teacher,
correct.
supervisory,
Right.
military.
Correct.
Last
That
time,
en- that
last time we did the
encompasses
search,
all.
last time we did the search, we did not narrow it to you have to have education experience.
Correct.
Because under required, we don't say anything about education.
Correct.
So that's what she's saying.
Right.
Are we wanting to go with that? Ms. Felton's already said that that is a priority for her to move some kind of experience in education up to required. If that's the case, then you do eliminate someone who's never been in education, but has
Correct.
gone through corporate or military, but has never done the education piece. So that's what we've got to decide. Are we willing to do that and potentially shrink our pool because they have to have the education experience, or are we not? And so last time we did not. Last time we just put it as a preferred, but not as a required.
I would rather keep it as preferred,
Okay?
because I can't see a lot of people that's not got this kind of background applying, but I like to keep it under the preferred. That would be
Okay.
my preference, but I'm only one, so.
Ms. Trader?
I would keep it under preferred. I mean, there's example after example after example in the leadership world of good leaders changing industries, going to other industries, and turning around corporations completely. One of them that comes to mind is the former CEO of Boeing came to Ford in the early 2000s. Ford was losing like $17 billion a year and completely turned the place around. Now you might say, well, Boeing, making cars, making planes, still a different industry. You know, I would just like to get the pool as big as possible. You never know who's going to show up. So, you know, we've already limited it to 20,000, but every time we put these restrictions on, we just keep shrinking and shrinking and shrinking the pool. And there are, like I said, many examples of great leaders changing industries and turning organizations around. Not that this one needs to be turned around, but I'd like to see the biggest pool possible. That's my opinion on that.
So-
Yeah, I'm for the biggest pool possible, but I do believe in my heart of hearts that it will be someone with an education background. I mean,
I do too.
I
I think
truly
everybody
do
does.
believe that. I don't think that I think it had to be someone really. There'd have to be some kind of some education background, whether it be family, spouse, something. It's just education's not run like a business entity, so and I don't want to shrink the type of applicants, but I do agree that I do think most likely it's going to be someone that has education experience. But I don't want to shrink the pool. But I do think it's a preferred. To be honest with you, I don't know what this looks like as far as the list of preferred. I don't know if we want to get that nitty gritty here, but in my personal opinion, some of that's over like doctor. I think this may just been alphabetical order, DEF. Now that I'm smart enough,
We can put them in priority.
It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be, and I don't really care. Alphabetical's fine. But to me, if you've been a dynamic school leader, administrator, etc., or on the level of, associate superintendent, and you don't have a doctorate, like the doctorate to me is not above something like that. But it doesn't really matter. I'm okay with all the qualifications as they are.
I wanted to go back to the 20,000 that Mr. Tatum brought up. There's a huge difference in running a small rural district with, where I'm from, 2 high schools, 3 elementary, 1 middle, whatever, and coming here and running 50 schools. There's a huge difference. So that's why I went for the 20,000. It's not to limit the ones that are only running those smaller districts, but it's a huge difference when you're running a school with 20,000 or 5,000 or 10,000 students. We're at 50-some thousand. That's a huge shift, at 50-some principals. So if you were doing 10,000, you might only have 5 principals.
Yeah.
So,
No, I think 20,000.
yeah, I think 20 is a good balance in between, so.
It's not a fall on my sword issue. I just know, for instance, and again, my experience, a lot of it is in the military. When you're when you lead, for instance, an Air Force base, you're called a wing commander, and that person can lead anybody from an Air Force base from 3 to 10 or 15,000 people, right? The job before that is called a group commander. That person leads maybe 500 to 800 people. So, you train yourself for the next job up. So these guys are group commanders, and they lead 3 or 4 squadrons, and they lead maybe 500 to 1,000 people as a group commander, and then that's the training to move up to the next level. But it's fine in the preferred area.
Can I
Yeah.
make a suggestion?
Yeah.
Can you add the word approximately?
Sure. That's fine. Approximately 20 means you have a range of 18.
Do you have a range?
Yeah, sure.
And that way people don't feel like
I think
that
it's
they're,
fine.
Good idea.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it.
Perfect. I'm okay with that. I think everybody's okay with adding approximately. But I don't see anybody else lit up, so I think qualifications are good the way they are.
Okay, I definitely heard, multiple people saying they wanted to leave the experience in education under preferred.
Yeah.
But I'm also happy to organize them, and what I think, based on what I've heard, you're good with them the way they are?
I'm good with the way, everybody good with the way they are alphabetically?
Yes.
Because we could have 5 different ways to organize these 4 different things, and so
Okay.
I think we're good just alphabetically.
And so the only change on this will be the word approximately in, just before the 20,000 figure. And then we'll get the qualifications approved at the end under the.
Perfect.
Right.
Yeah, under the amendment, yep.
Okay.
Looks good.
Perfect.
Then the next document I point you to is the qualities. We have 18 of these, and these actually came out of direct input from your community survey as well as your input sessions. So at one point, Mr. Chair, I believe you said any board member that had suggestions could have submitted them, and you didn't receive any. We did get one today from the public speaker. Mr. Rice, if you could, Dr. Rice, if you could read in what was suggested. I'm not saying you have to add it, but
Sure.
I do want you all to at least discuss it before we move forward, please.
And it says a demonstrated record of supporting parent choice by working collaboratively with charter schools, recognizing their vital role in public education and ensuring equitable opportunities and resources for all students, regardless of school type.
And we could even edit it.
I would edit that, yeah.
Yeah, a demonstrated record of supporting parent choice and ensuring equitable opportunities and resources for all students regardless of school type.
So I love the suggestion, and I love it just not just for charters, but I think parental choice in general. And what I mean by that is like choice within our district of where our parents can choose within our public school system. So not just parental choice when it comes to charter, although I do agree with that, and to be able to collaborate and that sort of thing. So I would almost say parental choice and
Demonstrated record of supporting parent choice and ensuring equitable opportunities and resources for all students regardless of school type.
that's perfectly fine with me. I mean, that
great.
school type includes in my mind charters.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I know for me during interviews, that will be something discussed. So, but
Right.
that to me, what you just read encompasses that. So I would definitely be okay with adding that.
Let me read it one more time. A demonstrated record of supporting parent choice and ensuring equitable opportunities and resources for all students regardless of school type.
Okay, Mr. Kennedy?
Andrew, I just have one at public school type.
Demonstrated record of
Some way to-
supporting parent choice, regardless of public school type.
Yeah,
Thank you.
because that's
Right.
charter, regular, and
Yeah.
I don't
not
want any
including
private
the-
schools coming after us like,
Sure.
hey, you.
Let me say it one more time to make sure I have it.
Yeah, let's
A
take the
demonstrated
private schools
record of
out.
supporting parent choice and ensuring equitable opportunities and resources for all students regardless of public school type.
Perfect.
Right.
Ms. Felton, you were lit up?
I was just saying, if they've paid any attention to our district at all, they should know that you can choice your kid pretty much anywhere you want to go in the district. So,
Including charter.
including charters, but yeah, so, if we need somebody who's going to continue to support that because I think it's really important in our district that we allow kids to go where they need to go.
Ms. Trainer?
Did I see Mr. Tatum wanting to comment on that one?
Yeah.
So the superintendent is what's the legal word I'm looking for? The person who's in charge of all the education in the county. Do you know the term I'm thinking of? The point is he's in charge of, he or she is in charge of public schools, private schools, virtual schools, the education authority. Isn't that the word that I'm looking for? Well, in charge in the sense of he or she is responsible for the education all the education that goes on in the county. For instance, homeschoolers have to register with the superintendent, right?
the district, yeah.
And with the district. So when you put that word public in there,
He's not in charge of the private though at all.
well, he's not in charge of it, but they have to, like I said, homeschoolers I know have to register with us.
But private, you go to ODA, BCS, St. Stephen's, they have nothing to do with the system at all.
Right. I don't
Like
know.
with the superintendent or with us either.
Right.
Homeschool is considered public, yeah.
Yeah.
Homeschoolers.
Because they could
consider-
use Florida Virtual, they could
Yeah,
use their own
correct.
entity, they could use Manatee Virtual to be homeschooled.
Yeah, I don't know why we put the word public. If you're a school choice fan, you're a school choice fan. I just don't want to get into
Because
competition.
it's called public charter school.
It is a public charter school. That's
And
Yeah.
if we can incorporate private, like Mr. Kennedy said, I don't want,
It just
Private-
excludes the private schools. That's all I'm
Right.
trying to do.
Right.
yeah.
Right.
and what-
Because of the language, the piece that's excluding is ensuring equitable opportunities and resources for all students. Because if you,
Yeah, we don't owe the private schools anything. We don't owe them any money.
well, you may
Any
under
resource.
vouchers, but that, you're not
Well, fair
responsible for
enough.
ensuring the equitable distribution of it.
right.
You have to give the money by law based on number of students, and then they do it with
Right.
whatever they do.
Right.
So let me read this one more time, Mr. Tatum, for you. A demonstrated record of supporting parent choice, so you're supporting parent choice, and ensuring equitable opportunities and resources for all students regardless of public school type.
So how do we go with this? Are not the scholarships then? Doesn't it flow through I wish Ms. Sellers was here. Does it not flow through the public school system? And
Yeah. It
Yeah, but you don't have a say in how it's spent. You can't guarantee opportunities and resources.
equitable, yeah.
All you're doing is giving the money,
not that
I think is what the distinction is.
It's basically, it comes into one hand and it goes out the other.
right. Go ahead, Dr. Vogel. You wanted to make a comment.
I'm not sure if ensuring equitable resources in
Is a
terms
good
of dollar-wise to charter schools, but I'm not sure how you can ensure what happens in the charter schools. If you have that, how does that
That's
work,
true, we can't.
Andrew? You know,
Equitable distribution.
Can you
Yeah,
speak,
if you
can you
say
speak into
equitable
the
distribution of-
microphone?
of
I can't hear
funding.
you. I can't hear you.
Can you speak into the microphone?
yes,
I can't
I'm sorry.
hear
If you can ensure, we support equitable distribution of the funding to charter schools without a doubt. But as far as what happens in the charter schools, the charter school boards ensure that.
But if we're
That's why
talking
I'm
about
not-
some of our
Right.
taxes, whether it be the millage or surtax, they've got to follow those certain things
I'm fine. Okay.
that are from that.
I don't know if we need to say.
I'm okay with what was
Fine.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
added.
not a follow my sword issue.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna read it one more time to make
Yeah.
sure. A demonstrated record of supporting parent choice and ensuring equitable opportunities and resources for all students regardless of public school type.
That's good.
Okay?
We good there, board?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Were there any other wordsmithing items in numbers 1 through 18? I didn't hear any submitted before, so we would have 19 now.
Right.
I have one.
Yep, go ahead.
Andrea, on number 3,
Number 3?
yeah, I thought we talked about this at a previous discussion, but just to add to the end of number 3, I'll start from the beginning. Ensures that ESE, including gifted 504 and ELL student needs are met. My add would be, and state and federal policies are followed.
We did add that. I thought the last meeting that we added state and federal
not on
laws are followed.
Yeah, I thought it was on the copy we got from Laura after this last discussion it was there. Which I went to
Yeah,
my
I
email
didn't
and
see it, but I just added
okay.
it. So number 3 will now read, ensures that ESE, including gifted 504 students and ELL student needs are met and state and federal policies and laws are followed.
Correct.
Okay? Any others?
Good.
Thanks for catching that.
Yeah, that was, I do remember us talking about that.
Yeah, we did
Sure.
talk about that.
No, I don't think there's any other, I don't see any other board members let up. So the qualities I think are done.
All right, so then the qualifications and the qualities are behind us. If you could next look at the timeline, please. There was some confusion based on the way we had it worded, which was originally the board identifying finalists and then finalists for interviews, right? And so the word finalist being there twice was what created some confusion. So I've changed it to, if you see on July the 29th, board identifies semifinalists. I heard very clearly you're not interested in the videos or the questions. So between the semifinalists on July 29th and the August 2nd, where the board would select finalists, you'll notice that 2-week period provides for the opportunity for final background checks and community feedback. So once you've identified the semifinalists, that gives us 2 weeks to do the checking, the additional vetting, get additional information, get that back to you. Then the board would the board would select finalists on August the 12th. I also want to point out that the interviews heretofore were identified as the week of August 18th. Now we've actually locked in on a proposed day. I need to make sure that everyone is available for both of these days in their entirety and the evening of August 18th. So we would have the interviews on August 18th and 19th. The 18th would be the public interview in this room, full board, public airing. You saw on the website there was watch interviews here. There'll be the little button there where they can watch the interviews. And then the evening there will be the community meet and greet. We'll get details of schedules and things like that at a later meeting. August 19th would be the individual board member and candidate interviews. And again, we'll talk in just a minute about the length of time of those. But I just want to make sure that the board is okay with the dates of August 18th and 19th, and that you can block it off your calendar right now so you don't add anything to it.
The only thing is briefing day.
Yeah, it is a briefing day. We can figure out our briefings going forward there. There was nothing in conflict, though, that week is the reason why we were leaning 18, 19. There was nothing in the district-wise for that, like any conflict. Like there was like the leadership last time we talked about this. It was like leadership. So other than the briefings, which we can kind of figure that out, there was nothing else that came up. Yes.
If we have 3 finalists, then that means 2 of us are sitting around not interviewing somebody at any point. Can we do our briefings then?
Yeah, potentially.
Yeah.
Certainly, we can work
Yeah,
that in.
Could probably blend
Yeah,
it all.
we could fill it. We could fill out the schedule like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that way we don't have to reschedule
Yep,
those for
yep.
another time.
I'd also just looking at the calendar. I think this all works Hold on one second. Let me just make sure. Yeah, I don't see anyone let up to speak. So, it seems
then-
like it all works. 18th, 19th.
Okay, you're saying the evening of the 18th would be
The meet and greet.
community?
The
Yes,
meet and
ma'am.
greet.
Okay,
Community meet and greet.
so that day would be the briefings, semi-interviews, and meet and greet.
I'm sorry,
Okay, that would be, our briefings are gonna be blended into that day.
no,
On
ma'am.
the 19th. On the
19th.
Okay,
Briefings will be blended on the 19th. The 18th is
the
when it's the whole
18th is when our
board.
briefings.
I know, but we'll push them back a day. The
Oh, you're saying
18th
put the briefings on Tuesday?
All of them will be on Tuesday
Okay.
because the 18th is us as a board interviewing for however long, 2 hours, whatever it was, each individual candidate.
Okay, so
And
that's
then
why
the
I'm getting
meet and greet is
confused.
that night
I'm
on the
getting,
18th.
right,
The 19th, we come back.
go back to the,
If we have 3 candidates and we're going to individually meet with them, when you're not meeting with a candidate, you'll do your briefing. And we can figure that out schedule-wise with Mr. Chapman, Laura, and everybody can figure that out.
okay, so the 18th is the public,
Yes.
okay,
Public interview, all of us up here on the board interviewing. And then we do the next day is going to be the individuals.
and then the meet and greet will be that evening. And then
Yes,
the
ma'am.
19th is our individual
And your briefing.
and
And briefing.
briefing, all right.
So the only question I have here, I think all this looks good. The 12th, August 12th is where the board would select finalists for interviews. That'd be a meeting.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's up. I guess it kind of plays with however that the 12th would be a special meeting is all I'm saying to the
Right.
board. So we have a meeting on the 5th. I think that's too early, obviously, but we do have a school board. We have a workshop on the 8th, and I'm just throwing this out there. I'm okay with doing a special meeting on the 12th. I'm just
Oh, I
asking
see.
you all, would you
no.
rather do a meeting and a workshop where we're discussing the finalist? That meeting could go 10 minutes. It could go several hours,
10
right?
hours.
Like going, I didn't want to say 10 hours. I don't want to jinx us. But it could go 10 minutes picking a finalist, right? 3. It could go, I mean, I want to say last time when we went to final 3 from 10 to 3, it was pretty quick.
It was
like,
fast.
it wasn't. So all I'm saying is, do we want to do a special meeting on the 12th, or do we want to do it on the 8th? And then that's my ask is also, Dr. Vogel, Dr. Rice, Andrew, like, is that something you guys would say, no, I probably need that extra couple days for the
I would
background
say
check?
it depends on how many background checks we're getting, and it depends on, sometimes the background checks take a little bit longer because it's not just background checks. We're also checking Florida Department of Education certification. We're checking lawsuits filed, all the kinds of things that you all are going to ask us. So, but I will tell you this, Chairman, selecting the finalists is typically there's usually very clear consensus with the board pretty quickly. We've
Right.
never had a real, now, selecting the final person sometimes
that's
can take
different,
some
of
time,
course.
but the finalists,
So, because when I look at this, I'm looking at July. Let's go back up to July 29th.
July 29th.
So July
semifinalists.
29th, I know we've got our 5:30 meeting for the quick financial meeting, right, on July 29th.
Tuesday.
We also have a workshop before we're going to be discussing that. My question on the 29th is, all of our applicants are in by the 16th. We get a week, obviously, or so to look at the applicants. And on the 29th, if let's say there's 25 applicants, are we then saying on the 29th, out of these 25, here are the 3 we want to go with as our to run the background check?
You're saying these are the ones I think that we need to be looking at very seriously.
However that many could be.
Correct.
Could be 3, could be 5, etc. And then you're going to come back on the 12th, and we're going to say, hey, background checks are good on all 5.
Correct?
And then we're going to narrow it down to 3.
And it's not just background checks. I mean, we check social media.
Oh, yeah.
We check,
Yeah,
like
we're
I
gonna
said,
vet
court
'em
cases,
regardless.
lawsuits.
Yeah, no doubt.
All kinds of stuff.
So I guess my thought is what if on the 29th we narrow it to 3? Do we even need a meeting on the 12th? If we've already narrowed it down to a number we want to bring in an interview, I'm not saying we're going to, but that adds an extra meeting. That what would we do if we narrowed it down on July 29th to 3 people, hypothetically 4 people?
What if some information comes back that, and we have had a number of applicants over the years.
Sure.
Where the application looks good, and then when we start digging into it,
Sure.
you know, there's some controversy about how and why somebody left a school district or something. And so if you identify them on the 29th as bringing them in for interviews, and then we find something, you will have already committed to bringing this person in.
Gotcha. Okay, I get you.
So we're trying to
Okay.
build you in a space where,
So we could, that literally that meeting could be 5 minutes. Like, hey, we're good with bringing everybody in.
correct.
Bang, done. Okay.
Yeah, especially if you only come up with 3, let's say, or
Okay.
5 or whatever.
Okay.
And it may not be that there's a controversial thing, but it could be that with the additional 2 weeks, you're looking at things, you're looking at
Okay.
all
Perfect.
kinds of work that they've done, and you're probably hearing from people in their community, and you go, you know what, these are the 3 that I'm locking in on, or
Okay.
It gives you some space to have some additional discernment.
Okay. And so that even, so I guess in that even, to me, I think having it on the 8th, when we already have something going on, would be prudent. But if we want to keep it on the 12th, that's fine.
I'm okay with the 8th. I mean,
I'm okay with the 8th.
It just depends on, I guess obviously depends on, that gives you from the 29th, 30th, 31st, 1st, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. That's only 7 days, 8 days to do the vetting in the background. Do
And
you
sometimes
need
it
more?
takes 10 days. Yeah, that's why.
So we'll just do the 12th then.
I'm
I mean,
sorry.
I don't want to say the 8th, then all of a sudden we got to come back and say, no,
I don't
no,
want to
no,
tell
no.
you we don't have that information yet.
That's fine.
You know?
Okay.
I'd rather set it and just, it is what it is. Ms. Felton?
I was going to say that I wanted to keep it on the 12th. If we can do it in the morning, that way, you know, we're done, get it over with. So staff has time to do whatever they need to do at the end of the day. Because of the needing to extend, just in case we don't have the information we need, but that's what I was going to say.
Okay. Mr. Kennedy?
Thanks. I have a question back on the 29th. As far as how will we determine who makes that first cut?
Oh,
Yeah,
We'll
great.
get
There
We'll get all the applications.
is, but let's say one board member has one candidate that they'd like to see move
Great.
through,
Yeah, let's explain
but
that.
no other board member is interested in that candidate. Does that candidate move forward?
Did you actually did you bring your little,
yes.
probably did you
A
bring
little
one?
tally, no, but I can
Oh,
easily, we
yeah.
have what's called a tally sheet that we use.
Yeah.
And what we ask is each board member to show up at that meeting with those candidates, application numbers, names, whatever, that you believe the board ought to continue to consider. And so let's say Ms. Felton comes with 5 names, Ms. Spray comes with 3, maybe 2 of them are the same.
Right.
And then you come in with 4, and maybe 2 of them are the same, or whatever. We look at those finalists where we have the most agreement. Now, almost always, there's 1 or 2 of the applicants that might have 5 board members say, yep, I want to continue to see this applicant. So we'll say, okay, here are 2 that all 5 board members have indicated they want to continue to consider. Is everyone okay moving these 2 forward to start our finalist pool?
I'm worried about where there's only 1 or 2 board
Right,
members.
so here's when we get down to that. So we go from the 5s to the 4s to the 3s. Oh, thank you. He actually has, leave it to Mr. Vogel, Dr. Vogel, to have his materials with him. When we get down to the 2s and the 3s, part of it will be predicated on, you know, I've heard this board multiple times say you really are looking at 3. Some of you have said, no, let's not lock it in at 3, let's have 4 or 5. So if we get down to the 5s and the 4s, and you guys already have 5 applicants that you all agree on, and then we get to the 3s, I say, what do you want to do with the 3s? Should we add some of the ones, or maybe there's one that has a 3. Should we add that person to the pool to continue to be considered? And you guys will decide. Then we'll go to the 2s and the 1s. And typically, if you have what you think is a good pool, the 2s and the 1s might not move forward, but you can advocate on behalf of that person.
Yeah.
And we have seen where somebody who's advocating says, no, here's why I really think this person should continue to be considered. And the other board members say, yeah, you know what, that makes sense. I'm happy to keep that person in. Or we already have our 5, sorry, we're cutting it off.
And that's exactly what I want to get to now before we even start, is can we set that rule now? like, for the sake of a board majority, my point would be, if we get to the 29th and there's a candidate that does not have 3 board members suggesting they move forward, my suggestion would be that person does not move forward. Because like you said, Andrea, we're gonna have a lot of 5s, 4s, and 3s. And I just, for the sake of
Time.
your time, like, I don't want to go through all that work. I don't want to have you go through all that work for a candidate that's probably has a single-digit chance of making it to a final.
I will just tell you, even if you make the rule and we get there and somebody really wants to advocate, they're going to ask you to change the rule. Because I've seen it.
Fair enough, yeah. Fair enough.
Just
And
I can
to
see
be
it too.
fair.
I can see
And
it happening too.
that portion of it really is now the background check, and then we're gonna come back and really nail down the actual 3.
Mm-hmm.
So we could push 5 or 6 through that vetting.
You could.
And be like, hey, Ms. Kinney, you really want this person, nobody else really does. Let's put them through the vetting process and see. Maybe we do some more research on them ourselves personally, whatever. And then we come back on the 12th and we're like, we still don't agree with you. He shouldn't be put, or he or she shouldn't be put to the final. At least they continue to move on.
Okay, no, we can keep
Does that
it
make
flexible.
sense?
That's fine. That's fine.
But I don't remember last year, or last time, really. But I see what you're saying.
There was no hard and fast rule.
There wasn't any hard and fast rule at all. It was just kind of us discussing it. And
It went
you
pretty
did fight
smooth.
for like, hey, this person, and if the other board member was like, no, like there was 3 or 4 like, no, we just said, okay, fine.
Okay.
We won't.
I've
put
seen
them through.
boards hold a hard line. Nope, we are only looking for X number. And I've seen other boards say, you know what? If a majority of my peers want this person, we'll go ahead and move them forward. And then I've seen others with even one that have somebody articulate enough to convince others to say, you know what, that person was on the fence for me, but if you really feel that strongly, yeah, let's go ahead and keep that person in.
Okay, I'm okay with that. Sure. Okay. Thanks for the discussion.
All right, I don't see anybody else lit up to speak about the timeline.
So the big issue here is the locking in of the dates of the
18th,
18th and 19th, just to make sure everybody's clear. Also, I want to point out that the advertisement will close on July the 16th as requested. We have it closing at 11:59 p.m., which is midnight. So that is a Wednesday, I want to say, which should give our staff a little bit of time. Sometimes, just so you know, people will meet the midnight deadline, but maybe their documents, we have a hard time opening them. We have to have some processing time to make sure no social securities and other sensitive information. So it takes a day or two for us to process everything. At the very latest, you should be receiving those on Monday. Hopefully, you can get them Thursday to Friday.
Okay, that's where I was trying to advocate for it to close at noon.
Right, I knew that before, but we wanted to say midnight because of time zones. People can think in terms of midnight, but noon, when we have people in other time zones, then it gets into it just creates a mess. And typically, and sometimes professionals who work a lot get things done in the evening when they get home from work. Sometimes they'll finalize a few things. And so it just gives the applicants a little bit of more breathing room. But I did want to point out that we did say essentially midnight. So I want to make sure everyone's okay with that.
I don't have a problem with midnight.
Good too.
Okay? All right.
I do want to make sure too, Dr. Vogel and I spoke about this, and I think, Andrew, you may have an opinion about this too. There was discussion, I think Mr. Kennedy brought this up, about allowing like a resume and a cover letter and then tweaking it from there. But Dr. Vogel, I think you have a pretty strong opinion that we just need to gather everything now.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's correct. And it's not a complete application until all the documents are in. And the FSBA team will work very closely to make sure
I think
everybody realizes
I think
that.
you're the one who was like,
I was. I mean,
are you okay with just
again,
adding all
to borrow Colonel Tatum, not a sword to fall on. I was just brought up that idea as a way to expedite things, but I have no problem with your suggestion.
The
I
only
just
issue,
don't want to get it, and then all of a sudden that person goes off on a vacation or they're sick, and then all of a sudden, hey, we're someone we like, but they haven't gotten everything in because
that's fine.
they got everything that they needed at the beginning, but not now. You know what I mean?
Yep. No, I agree.
Let's do it.
The applicants do not get an application number and they're not posted until all of the information is in.
Okay. So you
So-
gathered everything.
Correct. Everything's in, so the
And-
public and the
and-
board, everybody has everything.
And I'll add on to that, to your point of getting everything in at a certain time before midnight.
Correct.
If we only did an application and a resume, or cover letter, resume, then we're gonna have to do another deadline to have the rest of your stuff in.
Right.
That's
And
So
it's
it
chasing
makes
people
more
down
sense.
sometimes.
Right, makes more sense to collect all of the data that we need in the whole process at the beginning.
One thing we have done is, at this point, they only have to submit the unofficial transcripts, and it says that because sometimes colleges and universities
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
it may
are
take
very
for long.
delayed.
Yeah.
And so before we finalize, in fact, they need to get their official transcripts in towards the end of the process here.
Yeah, that's also another reason from the semifinalists to the finalists.
Right.
Giving that time, we also ask them for headshots, because as soon as you guys have finalists, your press starts asking us for photos.
Yeah.
So we ask for headshots, we ask for the formal transcript and certain things like that. That's why that time frame in the middle there sometimes is what we ask for. Allows us to get everything you need. What we don't want is for you to have a finalist and then we find out that maybe their transcripts aren't valid or
Yeah.
something. You know, we don't want someone to move along the process and then have, we forgot something.
Right. Okay.
So, Mr. Choate, you move forward to the actual advertisement is where that.
Yeah, I think timeline, we're good. Now the actual advertisement, yeah.
Yes, and that is exactly the what I wanted to point out in the proposed advertisement. Let me just make sure we didn't make any changes on.
Just add approximate.
Yep, we're going to change
20,000.
that, and then we'll get the qualities updated as we discussed, get that posted as well. We'll get the timeline posted so everyone can see. On the application, or on the advertisement itself, at the bottom, you'll see the application process and deadline. We are asking for those documents up front, because that way it just saves time later. We also have the midnight on July the 16th. We have the email address in case anybody has any questions, or where they're going to submit stuff is going to come at superintendentsearch@fsba.org. On your website, if anybody has input, they can just shoot an email there. It keeps your staff completely above reproach, so there's no question. You know, we are the outside agency assisting you all. There are some slight edits to the description above that came when Laura sent it to me, so I think you guys had already discussed some of those, and I think it had to do with, I think we had the number of schools exactly wrong or something. There was a few little tweaks that you all had put up in there. And I once again want to remind you, the salary range 220 to 260 is what we've landed on. So everything here, you'll notice we put the interview dates in instead of the week of, and we've got the consultants listing. So that is the advertisement that we'll begin to place this afternoon after we approve all these documents together.
Right.
Okay,
All right. One final item, actually two final items. One has to do with feedback. You all talked about wanting feedback sooner rather than later. That's what I heard you say. So what I have done is prepared a generic input platform inquiry. So the first question would be, what kind of input do you want to provide? I think you have a copy of this in your folder. Yes, ma'am. The first one says general information on the district or process of the search. So people can put anything they want in that box.
Right.
And then the second is specific information on one or more applicant whose information has been posted. So once we have applicant 1, 2, 3, they'll get posted, 4, 5, 6 gets posted, however they, land in our boxes. And then people can come in and just identify the applicant by name and number, and they can provide the input below. And I've given some suggested thoughts, like what strengths or qualifications do you see in this applicant that would benefit Manatee County Public Schools? How do you see this applicant supporting the needs of our students, staff, and community? Just to kind of get their thoughts going. And if they want to input on one, and then yes or no, I want to input more, do it again, yes or no, I have another, do more, do more, do more.
Okay.
And so they just will continue to provide feedback. We would allow this link to go live as soon as the first application gets posted. And so we'll have that. Then, once you select semifinalists, we would pull this particular survey, and it would be, here are the finalists, let's say you have 5. Applicant 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. What are the strengths, what are the questions you have for applicant 2, strengths applicants 4, 6, 8, 10. Then when you get to finalists, just as we did before, people who watch the interviews, there'll be an input let's say you have 3, 2, 4, and 6, what, you know, after they've watched the interview, they can put in, or after they've met the person at the meet and greet, they can put in some input. So there'll be 3 different and evolving
Feedbacks.
feedback
Okay.
question prompts as we go.
Love it. And then can I ask how it will be, will that then be put up, that'll be put up back onto the website for the community to see those feedbacks, correct? Or that's just gonna be sent to us?
Typically, it goes to the board and it can be posted. So the full feedback loop, especially for the full applicant pool,
Yeah, it's pretty,
can go out there. Sometimes
Yeah.
it can be hundreds and hundreds of pages,
Yeah.
but it can go there. And sometimes people like to make sure that theirs is included. They will look for their input
Right.
to make sure that it's there. Regarding the finalist feedback, that comes to the board for you to use before you make your decision. Usually it's a quick turnaround. I do like to be clear that, for example, you've got your interviews on the 19th, and then your board will select on the 26th.
week.
So let me look
One
and
week.
tell you this.
so it
what
gives
we-
you like a week for public to comment on that.
Right.
After interviews.
And what we try to do, okay, so if the interviews are on the 19th, yeah, so what we would do is close that feedback on Sunday, like at midnight. So people have the weekend, they could watch the interviews
Sure.
or whatever. But we close it at midnight, that way we get it to you a few days before, so you all can use it in your thinking. There was a time once when we would provide it to board members each day along the way, but what would happen is people would see the feedback that was coming back on them, and so then they would start rallying their troops or criticizing somebody, and it just
Yeah.
got into a whole big mess. So we give it to you, we close it, provide it to the board, close it, provide it to the board, close it, provide it to the board, so that it doesn't become this competitive, you know, election thing. It's not an election,
Are
the
you-
board decides.
Do you mean the first part or the semifinalists?
All of the above.
Okay, so if we get, let's say, 2 applications tomorrow, we won't see those applications, or we can see those applications tomorrow. I mean, those are you giving to us, the applicants, right away,
No, we wouldn't do that
once
because
a week.
we would give you the packet, the application packet, but we wouldn't provide you the feedback every time because it turns into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember last time we got the applicants kind of right away as they went.
You'll get the
You'll get 'em
applicants.
right
That's
Yes,
all
sir.
I care.
Right away.
Yes,
that's,
sir.
That's the feedback we can look at later. I was just making sure the applicants were getting as they come in and whatever the process
sir.
time is. Okay, cool.
Yes, sir.
All right, Ms. Kearney.
Yeah, that's exactly, what you just talked about is exactly
Okay.
what I wanted to ask, but a little bit farther down in the weeds, I just have a question about process.
Sure.
Applicant number 1 submits everything that's required that's on the listing. You get it to our IT staff. Do you foresee a daily kind of close of business update? IT staff's not here to answer this either, but how do you picture it happening? That would be a daily
Sometimes-
update every 2 days, maybe?
It could be every 2 days. It depends on how they get processed. So the standard is Kim in our office, Kim Beatty, she checks the email twice a day, right? And she starts to process it. So sometimes somebody will submit a resume, a cover letter, and let's say 4 letters of recommendation. Well, you're supposed to have 3.
Right.
So if they send 4, we say you have to pick which 3, right? And so she has to communicate with them, wait to get it back. So they don't even get a number until
Everything's right.
that is
Everything's
correct.
there.
And that's the nature of my question. Once everything is right.
Correct.
How do you see that process going?
Then Kim removes the personally identifying social security information because a lot of times it's on the transcripts, that kind of stuff. It comes directly from Kim to your IT staff. Your IT staff will post it. So depending on what time Kim gets done with it, sometimes she'll get 3 or 4 a day, sometimes it'll be 1 a day, sometimes there won't be any. It depends on how people apply. I will say the very end, the last few days, especially the last day at midnight, some people like to hold.
We'll get a bunch.
Well, because here's why. When we look at assigning applicant numbers, some people believe that being the last is the best, right? The higher the number, what it means is they get the last interview because we have to have something to hang our hat on for the order of interviews. And so we do it based on applicant number. So some people want the first number, some people want the last number, and some people have all kinds of strategies related. So on the last day, right before midnight, which I never recommend because I think it's a risk, but some people will submit on that day after working hours. Kim will come in the morning and she'll see, whatever. Usually people have kind of started maybe with their cover letter, their resume, but we're waiting on their transcripts. And so as soon as their transcripts come in, it becomes final, click, moves forward. So I can't say that it's every day, but I also can't say that it wouldn't be every day. It depends on
Depends on
how.
the flow.
Correct.
Yep, okay.
So when does it come to us? I mean, you're
Laura.
saying it goes to
So,
IT.
yeah.
It goes from FSBA
To-
to Laura.
To Laura. Laura gives
to
it to
the
you and then it
board,
gets posted.
and then
I'm
it gets
sorry.
Right,
posted.
that's
Yeah.
what I
Right.
wanted to see.
I'm
where
sorry.
that
It's gonna be
gap was.
simultaneously as it comes to
IT,
the
it goes to
district,
us.
as it goes to IT, it goes to Laura, probably Dr.
Right.
Vogel, everybody.
It's usually the same. The board gets it first.
Right.
Maybe 5-10 minutes,
Before-
and then IT gets it.
Gets it
Right.
right. And we talked with IT yesterday, and we're meeting again today just to confirm how they're all set to go with it. So,
Okay,
Anything else about process? I just want to now, if you want to go ahead and take votes on all those items, we'll talk about the advertisement venues in just a minute, but we do want to lock in the decisions on the board on the qualifications as discussed, the qualities as amended,
yep,
the timeline as discussed, and the advertisement as discussed.
yep, 5-0. We just need a motion to approve all superintendent attachments, timeline, qualities, qualifications, job description. And this says venues. Do you want to do venues? You want to do venues as part of the overall motion? So
Sure,
let's wait.
You can do that.
All right, we'll wait for venues. So no motion yet,
Right.
folks.
Okay.
All right.
Let's do venues first.
All right.
Was this venues list that you have given to us? Is this the one that we already talked about previously?
Yes, it is.
yeah.
Okay.
Where's the venue list? I don't see a venue list. Oh, advertising venues.
I
got
didn't
that.
hear that, somehow I missed your priorities here, but I also wanted to say there were some challenges with
Yeah.
the National Alliance of Black School Educators and the Association of Latino Administrators and Superintendents. We figured out the challenge with the National Alliance, so that one's fine. The Association of Latino Administrators and Superintendents, when you advertise with the American Association of School Administrators above, it goes to the Association of Latino Administrators and Superintendents, so that
That
$250
can be saved.
should be saved, yes.
Okay.
Okay,
And we're only doing 30 days
Correct.
in the other ones.
So my understanding, and I
Okay.
want to confirm, you guys wanted to do the American Association of School Administrators.
yeah.
You talked about the Latino administrators, but that one would be included.
Included.
The
Right.
Florida Association of School Administrators, the National Alliance of Black School Educators, and then, of course, all the free ones.
Correct.
Yep.
Correct.
All in favor
Cool.
of free.
So we have an amendment to the qualifications, an amendment to the qualities, and everything else is as presented.
All right. Great. Thank you.
Okay.
Now, board members, we'd like to get a motion in a second.
A motion that we
Right.
accept all the materials that we discussed from the FSBA on the timeline for selecting our next superintendent.
Second.
So we have a motion in a second. Discussion?
Quick question. What was did we decide on the 8th or the 12th for the
12th.
12th?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think too, going back to that, just as we're here with discussion, I think the 12th will also give us time, Andrew, when you guys can go and explain, as we move to the semifinalists, like, and the interview process, questions. And I think last time we said, oh, I'll do 3 or 4 questions on this. You know, Ms. Kearney would do 3 or 4 questions on this. Tatum would do 3 or 4 questions on that. When we get to like the public interview part, and we can do that on the 12th
Yes.
after we choose the finalists. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we will work with, we'll be able to present to you for your approval, the actual tentative schedule based on 3 or 4 or 5 or however many finalists, as well as the themes. Now, the last time for questions for the public board interview, we broke it down based on your strategic plan.
Right.
And your strategic plan, my memory,
It's
and I
ending
have it in
this
here
year.
somewhere, is ready to learn, ready to lead.
Yes.
Ready
Et
to
cetera, et cetera.
But it ends 2026.
Yep.
So we can still do that,
Okay.
or we can also divide it by, and this is what St. John's recently did, they did it by categories of responsibility for the superintendent. So business finance, community board relations, academic leadership, general leadership qualities. So we can do it that way, or we can do it according to your strategic plan, whatever.
Okay.
We'll come back with banks
can-
of questions.
Fix that later. Yeah. Okay. All right. So seeing no other board members to comment, let's go ahead and vote on all of our items for the superintendent search. And that passes 5-0.
And I just wanted to say that the questions, if I remember correctly, I think we selected the questions we wanted to ask. Each member did.
Correct.
Am
Out
I
of-
correct?
Yeah, we took
Yeah.
I took technology and I asked the 3 or 4 questions that
Right.
I'd get to. And I think Mr. Tatum had leadership and somebody had something else and somebody had, yeah. And
Right.
so we didn't ask the same questions, from all
Right,
of us.
right.
And then we create a worksheet for you to work through. We'll give you a bank of questions. You don't
Right.
have to choose from them, but you can.
Right.
You'll tell us which 3, 4, 5, however many, depending on how much time we allocate.
Right.
Usually
And-
we ask for 5 or 6 questions.
And public feedback, if there's a
Correct.
public question that's overwhelmingly on every one of them, that would be something to
Right.
consider as well.
Exactly.
What we can do is go ahead and give you some areas that have been utilized in the past that are important to this board, and then the board can start thinking about how they want to do that, whether they want to use the strategic plan areas or just the general areas.
I'm more in line of general area, because I know our strategic plan is gonna change some.
Yeah, I mean, our strategic plan is done after this school
Okay.
year.
Yeah,
So
So then we'll be
they'll
prepared.
be kind of coming in to it being finished.
right,
So I would say we just do generic
yes,
questions, to
Right.
be honest.
Is everyone okay with me coming back with being prepared to do the categories of superintendent
I like the
responsibility?
categories,
Yep.
and then we just divide it up. Each one pick a category.
Thematic
If you're really
categories.
excited about it, you can take whichever.
And leadership is one. He can still do his leadership category and,
Right,
instructional.
what if I wanna do leader? No,
fine.
I'm not kidding you.
Yeah, no, it's all good. Okay,
It's all
Okay.
good.
Very good.
excellent. Board, anything else?
Yes, sir.
You all right, Ms. Sullivan?
Awesome. Thank you very much,
Yeah, thank you all.
everybody.
Thank you.
This is great. Look forward to the process. And like I think Dr. Vogel, you said earlier, I mean, although it's been pretty quick turnaround and stuff, I think we got a great timeline. I think we got, I think we're in a really good spot. So
And
excited
you're
about it.
here, so you can always reach out to us, right?
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah. And thanks to the board. The board did a lot of pre-work that has moved this along, and I think we're in a real good place right now. And we're meeting with the key staff people this afternoon to make sure they're up to speed on it. And
Okay.
I'd be available to any of the board members at any time. and
You guys
update
have a
them.
great advocate over there.
Yeah, no doubt.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dr. Vogel.
Awesome. Well, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
You guys have safe travels back, and we'll see you in a month or so.
Soon.
All right.
Yep.
All right. We are adjourned.